the slight whiff of it, the first thing that I do is run into my kitchen and check on my stash of flour and, more importantly, yeast. It's pizza time, guys. Don't forget to subscribe and hit on the bell icon for many more of these lockdown hacks. Now, creating a pizza dough is not an unearthly task. It's really very simple to create, and it all depends on what flour you use. So while I'm using refined flour, 400 grams of that, I've taken 350 mils of semi-warm water just so that I can activate the yeast. If you are using whole wheat flour, take 400 grams of that and take the same quantity of water, and the recipe is the same. So get versatile, get using flours that suit your convenience. So with this nice and warm 350 mils of water, into that goes a teaspoon and a half of sugar just to sweeten the mix and activate the yeast. Give it a quick stir. And into that goes a teaspoon and a half of dry yeast that is readily available all across any store. Just put the two together and allow it to nestle for a good 15 minutes till it activates. I'm just going to set this on the side for 15 minutes till it activates and gets slightly frothy, and in the meantime, let's get to adding all the dry ingredients into my stand mixer, because it's locked down, super lazy, use things to your convenience, or go right ahead and just knead it. So out here I've got 400 grams of refined flour going into a bowl. Into that I'm going to add a good 50 grams of semolina, and that just aids in the crunchiest of pizza bases. So put that in. Now you want slight flavorings, and that comes together with a teaspoon of dehydrated oregano, a teaspoon of dried garlic powder, totally optional, but I'm going to reserve a little bit of this dough to create something for breakfast tomorrow as well. And finally, a teaspoon and a half of some regular iodized salt. Just allow everything to mix, and we are ready to add the yeast slurry into it. While we've allowed the slurry to form and you can see the bubbles on top, this is activated, and all you need to do now is form that perfect dough. So start the machine and just pour the entire slurry in. As the dough comes together in the most supplest of forms, into that goes 60 mils of extra virgin olive oil just to blend everything together and create that softest of flavors. Now, while I did do all that drama with the machine, in the end, muscle power is required to get that perfect dough. So onto a lightly dusted work surface, it's time to get your hands in and smoothen the entire dough out. Work it and work it well till it's perfectly smooth, but at the same time it just about holds its shape. So light mixing and allow everything to come together. Now, while working your dough, if you realize that it's slightly sticky, it's most often because of the flour. It does really play havoc. So eyeball it and just add some dry flour into it till your dough just about comes together but has that soft, gorgeous touch to it. Work it, stretch it, and play with it is my rule while kneading dough. So stretch it, and this is ready, just about holding its shape and ready to prove now for a good 2 hours. Now, while I've shaped this into one large bun, because I'm trying to keep things really simple, really easy, you can divide it into 6 and grease it with slight extra virgin olive oil on top, just about 5 mils, so that the skin doesn't form, and wrap it in muslin, or like me, just cling wrap the entire bowl and leave it on the side for a good 2 hours. Now while we've allowed the dough to ferment for a good 2 hours, and trust me, that's the only difficult part of this entire creation. While you get that done, it's time to get fun, get experimentative, and walk with me on this journey, because I'm going to give you new hacks on how to create pizzas without the old-fashioned tomato sauce as well. A perfectly risen dough is beautiful, and all you need to do is gently knock it down. And always remember that a dough has to be handled with a little bit of love. So knock it down and roll it out, divide it, and it's time to just create that fabulous thin crust pizza. Now while I've reserved half the dough to use for my breakfast tomorrow, and I'm just going to add some olive oil, some dukkha spice that we created during this lockdown, and grill it and enjoy it. I'm just going to put it in the oven at 275 degrees Celsius for 10 minutes till it's ready. With this done, it's time to roll the dough out. With this rolled out, and it's time now to just put it in a pan. But there's a food hack out here. So while I'm using my normal 14-inch pizza pan, I like to line it with some semolina. So just take average 2 tablespoons, 1 per tray, and the semolina gives slight amount of surface area between the pizza base and the pan, giving it a more further crispier crust. So sprinkle this and just layer your dough on top. Now with all the heavy lifting done and the bases rolled out perfectly well, now comes the part of layering it. You put a sauce, you put the cheese, that's grated mozzarella, and then finally you put the toppings on top. So get experimentative, omit the old-fashioned tomato if it suits your family, or just go right ahead and use anything. At times I've also taken some leftover gravy that I have lying around to use as a sauce base. Such an eclectic flavor coming together. So for my pizza, the veg version, I'm creating a very unique style of fig with goat cheese, but I'm going to pair it with this gorgeous liquid gold. That's the sweet chili sauce. Who would have ever thought, but the spice flavors come together perfectly. So slather some sweet chili sauce on top and just go about following the same old principles. Spread it all around. Take it right to the end so that you have the sharp spice and sweet flavor in every bite. So sprinkle it right to the end and go about adding some mozzarella on top. I'm sweet chili obsessed, so I've gone a little overboard, but go as much as suits your fancy. A generous sprinkling of some grated mozzarella cheese on top. You don't want to put too much because you're adding some goat cheese later, so you don't want the flavors to mismatch with each other. A generous sprinkling of some green bell peppers, just cut into any fancy shape. So I've cut it into dices, triangles and diamonds, along with fresh figs. Now fresh figs caramelize at that high temperature and are a flavor that's very, very unique, but at the same time balances out with the goat cheese really well. So take about 100 grams of fresh figs, slice them really thick so that they hold their shape, but at the same time it has that gorgeous sweet flavors within. For the chili obsessed me, some chipotle peppers just to give it that color in between and also to balance out that over sweetness. And finally, large shards or chunks of gorgeous goat cheese. Use any brand that's available going on top. You can add some oregano or just omit it. Overall, this is a perfect pizza to enjoy as well. All of us have 1 or 2 members in the family that always want that tomato pizza. So here I've got my chunky tomato sauce that's always lying in the fridge, and that recipe is available in the basics to use that suits your fancy. So put a large dollop of it and have bits of the tomato in it as well, just to aid in that bite-sized wonder. Spread it right till the end. Slather some mozzarella on top, and when doing non-veg, just go pepperoni and have a family favorite at home. Always bake a pizza close to dinner time so everyone can enjoy it piping hot straight out of the oven. So 275 degrees, these go in for 15 minutes till they bake to perfection. So with the pizza nearly done, 15 minutes of allowing it to cook, and you need to check that it gets golden brown. If you're using an old-fashioned oven, keep it in for another 5 minutes just so that it gets nice and crispy. The crispier the pizza, the crunchier the overall experience. With this nearly done, it's time to take it out and just allow it to sit. Lockdown woes and pizzas together make life truly bearable and the best time that you can spend with family, enjoying warm pizza and chilled lemonade, or just like me, go ahead with some red wine. I hope you enjoyed creating this simple flavors coming together. The trick is to ensure you always have flour and yeast on hand to create this decadent spread. Don't forget to share loads of love by hitting on the like button. Stay safe, stay blessed, always, but after you subscribe.